Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Good morning to our listeners on the Morning Watch, and a special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, does our Parliament need a sexual harassment policy? And in the second watch, ivermectin as a treatment in light of the coronavirus. For our Facebook question, we asked, what are your thoughts on a sexual harassment policy for Parliament? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's our quote.
This morning's I quote, "A healthy outside starts from the inside," Robert Urich.
Indeed, Siobhan, indeed. Sounds quite apt and appropriate. The main watch will be back after this break.
The Minister of Transport and Mining, the Honourable Robert Montague, will deliver his sectoral presentation in Parliament on Wednesday, May 26 at 2:30 p.m. He will speak on the progress of plans in his portfolio ministry under the theme Transport and Mining, Resilient, Strong, Recovering. You can hear the presentation this Wednesday, May 26 at 2:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
I am a man, yes. To be a strong man, integrity man. I am a man.
It's the final Wednesday inside me. And you know what the man them do on the last Wednesday? It's Integrity Wednesday inside the mailbox. Tune in this Wednesday, May 26th, with host Pastor Courtney Morrison, yours truly, and Kevin Bailey at 5:30 p.m. inside the mailbox with our integrity guest, a man who chases youths for the kingdom of God, founder of the Youth Empowering Youth Ministries, youth counselor and advisor, Minister Tyrone Augustus. Be sure to tune in at 5:30 p.m. May 26th tomorrow to hear about the importance of him as a man having undiluted integrity in ministry, business, and his relationship. In all things integrity with Minister Tyrone Augustus inside the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. This Wednesday, May 26th at 5:30 p.m. here on Love 101, the family station, the number one gospel station in the nation. Monday.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. According to the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, sexual harassment is any unwelcome sexual advance, request for sexual favor, verbal or physical conduct, or gesture of a sexual nature, or any other behavior of a sexual nature that might reasonably be expected or be perceived to cause offense or humiliation to another when such conduct interferes with work, is made a condition of employment, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. In light of that, is there any work environment here in quotes that can or should be exempt from a policy to protect one from sexual harassment? For example, our parliament, what would or could be the reasons for and or against such a policy there? We have online at this time to discuss this attorney at law, Mrs. Shirley Richards, and she's also legal counsel for the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Ms. Richards, good day. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Marshall. Thanks for having me. And good morning to your listeners.
A pleasure having you, Ms. Richards. Now, let us for a moment not think about the recent incident arising from what was said to be certain exchanges between members of our parliament, which led to certain reports in the media as it relates to using words in a particular way, which were interpreted in a particular way. And, one member, for example, of that parliament being female and the other male. Let us for a moment not think about that. Let us think about the matter in a broader sense. Does our parliament really need a sexual harassment policy? Is it considered a workplace? Should there be some sort of policy in place to protect female members of parliament who may find themselves, as it were, being spoken to in a particular way, or there might even be blatant things being done or said which make them feel that they are being harassed sexually? And the same can go the other way. It could be the female who is, as it were, making whatever advances to the man, or saying or doing other things to make him feel as if he is being pressured in that particular way. Would a parliament of modern Jamaica need that? Mrs. Richards, do you have any thoughts on this?
All right. Let me try to express my thoughts. Firstly, I think we live in a highly sexualized culture. To be talking about policies and so on without recognizing that we have a culture which is just steeped in sexual affairs is, to me, just disregarding the root of the problem. I'm sorry. I personally, every time I think of the sexualized nature of the society in which I live, my mind goes back to what Murty Perkins or somebody else used to call Penis Park. You have these figures there, carving stone, naked people, emphasizing their genitalia, and at Emancipation Park. And then, you have children going alongside them, taking pictures, and then we complain of the sexualized society in which we are in. We possibly do not recognize how much images, the things that are taken in, affect our actions. Of course, that leads to pornography and all sorts of things. But in terms of whether or not there should be a policy in Parliament, so remember they are thinking of passing a sexual harassment bit of legislation. And incidentally, our group, Coalition for Healthy Society, we made some submissions on that. We understand the need for that, but we were concerned about what could have been, we were concerned about the possible impact on freedom of speech. And so we made certain suggestions where that bit of legislation is concerned. I think part of the problem to Mr. Marshall is that we have lost, as a society, we have lost what used to prevail, which in terms of how to treat women, how men should be treating women. You know, the Bible is a wonderful book. St. Paul says to Timothy, treat older women as mothers, treat younger women as sisters. And he goes on to say with absolute purity. The whole matter of how men treat women, that is a matter which needs serious attention. How are we bringing up our boys in terms of how do they relate to girls? How do they relate to women? So I don't think the parliament of its own necessarily needs a sexual harassment policy, but I do think that parliamentarians need to understand that they play a certain role in society. They are, in a sense, they are part of the structure, the example-setting structure in a society, and they cannot get away from that. You know, leaders in a society, leaders in whatever area, and there are political leaders, they set an example, and so they need to be careful in their behavior, and they need to be careful in their communications, one with the other. So that's where I would start on this.
We are now joined by Mr. Anthony Williams. Mr. Anthony Williams is not a stranger to the Morning Watch, and he is returning. Good day to you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. And morning to your listeners, and thank you very much for having me, my brother.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Williams. Always a pleasure. Sir, do you think Jamaica, in terms of our parliament, does our Jamaican parliament need a sexual harassment policy? And as I said when I opened, for the time being, let us not think about the recent matters that were coming to the fore in relation to our own current parliament. I'm speaking broadly now. Do you think we need a sexual harassment policy for our parliament?
Well, I listened to my esteemed colleague and friend, Miss Shirley Richards, and I wholeheartedly agree with her that I personally don't think we need a sexual harassment policy in Parliament. For the primary reason that there is a bill entitled the Sexual Harassment Act, right? Sexual harassment at the workplace, which is still in the discussion mode and phase, and it sets out certain parameters as to sexual harassment. And what that bill says in terms of the definition, right, of sexual harassment, it says it means making any sexual advance towards a person by another person, which is reasonably regarded as unwelcome, offensive, or humiliating by the person towards whom the sexual advance is made. And our parliamentarians are not excluded from this definition. Now, as Mrs. Richards, mentioned, our parliamentarians have to set the example. They're the ones who are passing the laws. In fact, the law, this bill cannot come into law until our very parliamentarians vote on it, debate on it, and the majority goes. So if they are going to pass a legislation that deals with sexual harassment, that legislation, as far as I'm concerned, cannot exclude the very parliamentarians who are the fabric of lawmaking. And so they too have to keep themselves in introspect. They too have to respect our women, and I'm referring to our male parliamentarians. They have to respect our women, right? So as the old adage goes, what is sauce for the goose must be sauce for the gander. And so the sexual harassment policy need not be in place for our parliamentarians. They have to demonstrate that type of conduct which is exemplary for our youngsters, male. They have to demonstrate that. Yes.
I didn't want to cut Mr. Williams, but we are most definitely upon the break. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Okay.
Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Banana Board is
7:17. This is Love 101.
Everyday living, we make it worthwhile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! From kitchen to bathroom, a whole heap of tile. Home and things for everyday living. Nice up your home, fix up every room. Shop every day, shop real value. Fixtures and faucets to catch your eye. We have the options, we have the style. Everyday living, so versatile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! Lowest price guarantee on everything you see. Home and things for everyday living.
Many of our brothers and sisters lose hope when diagnosed with HIV. Some lose their will to continue being a part of society. Others are despaired by the challenges of keeping up with their treatment. We understand. But remember, people with HIV live normal and progressive lives every day. You can too if you get back on track with your HIV treatment. Live for you, live for someone, live for something.
Get back on track, get back to life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Now more than ever, Protex reminds you to wash your hands. A 40-second hand wash with soap could help prevent COVID-19. Look for Protex at your nearest store.
At Digicel, we rate you like family, so we'll make you these 5 promises. We will provide you with the best LTE and broadband experience. We will support you 24/7. We will be transparent, no hidden charges or tricky terms and conditions. We will elevate your digital experience. We will listen to your feedback and reward your loyalty. We will keep these 5 promises to you because together we are so much better. Digicel, better together.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We're in the main watch. The topic is, does our parliament need a sexual harassment policy? And our guests are Ms. Shirley Richards, Attorney at Law, Legal Counsel, Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, and Anthony Williams, Attorney at Law. Now, Mr. Williams, you indicated a number of interesting things before the break. And Mr. Williams, do you regard our parliament as a workplace in the sense of a typical workplace that any sexual harassment law ought to apply to? Because what you are indicating is that if and when that law is passed, it should apply to parliament. That's how it seems as if you're saying that's how it ought to be interpreted. Do you regard and it's committed, yes or no?
Stokely, is
yes.
Yes,
we're here, sir. We're here.
Sorry, were you referring to me? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes, definitely, sir. Most definitely.
Could you repeat the question for me?
Well, I'll shorten it. Is Parliament a workplace for the purpose of the sexual harassment bill? And if it becomes law, should it be considered a workplace?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it should be considered a workplace. In the very bill itself, it refers to an institution, right? But unfortunately, the institution excludes Parliament, and I think that is where there is a deficiency in the legislation. And so I think the legislation or the proposed legislation should include Parliament. It mentions everything else: school, college, university. any place of learning. It's a correctional institution, place of safety, a place where minors can be, a nursing home, a place for the elderly, medical facility, psychiatric facility, and it goes on. So I think that it should include that as well. You know, that's my personal view.
Very interesting thought. Mrs. Richards, any comments on that? I mean, we did hear what you said earlier. You didn't seem to think we necessarily had to go in a particular direction in terms of a sexual harassment policy for Parliament, but in light of what Mr. Williams said, any thoughts?
Well, listen, I would expect that legislation to also apply to persons to parliamentarians within the context of Parliament. And if there is an omission, and if I remember correctly, it says includes. Anthony, isn't that the case?
Yes. Correct.
I can see that there should be any problem with placing Parliament within that context. But maybe to make it clear, they should stop in the word Parliament.
Correct.
You understand? Maybe to make it clear, yeah. Because in a sense, they do work with each other. You know? Yeah.
Understood. Very interesting. And, never enough time on the morning watch. We have a few minutes left. So you both seem to be indicating now that perhaps there ought really to be the inclusion of Parliament in relation to a sexual harassment policy. Now,
the legislation, though, Stokely, I'm not saying there should be a specific sexual harassment policy for Parliament, but certainly
the law being contemplated.
Right, there should be no doubt that that Parliament would be covered. You're covering church, you're covering schools, and so on. There should be no doubt that Parliament, being an institution, is also included.
Okay. That is correct.
Sorry, Mr. Williams, go ahead.
Yeah, what is also interesting, Shirley, is that we are seeing a proliferation of the number of female parliamentarians, right? And so it is very important that we're also sending a proper message to the society. It is not just predominantly men or a large number of men, as we may otherwise put it, but quite a number of our women are in Parliament, right? They too need to be protected, not necessarily against the parliamentarians, but against any person who work in the Parliament building as an ancillary person.
Yes, and they're going to be more and more women. You know, Mr. Marsh, I say it again, I really want to protest the way that women are treated in this society, especially by men, simply because we think we are simply because the men realize that we are weaker physically. You know, there's a lot of abuse in a number of different ways, not just sexual, but verbal abuse and that type of thing. There's disrespect. And, you know, we need to understand that is a problem. There is disrespect. Maybe because it's fresh on my mind. Let me tell you, last week I went into a supermarket and just asked the man, I was at the cashier, and I said to him, social distance, please. And the man started and really threatened me with physical harm. And I thought, you know, I'm not certain he would have done that to another man who could have stood up to him. And there was I just trying to be nice and polite about it. Sir, could you please remember social distance? But we're going off on a tangent. I'm just saying that this is a society which needs to regain. I'm not certain it was ever there, but it was certainly more than it is now. But we need to teach our men to respect women. And Anthony Williams on the line, he's the father of 3 lovely girls. I am sure he is teaching them, listen, don't go this is the type of thing you must expect of a man who says he's interested in you. He must be respectful. Anyway.
I agree entirely, Shirley.
You're commenting?
Well, you know, if we look at why we're having an increase in feminicide, which is the killing of women, the unlawful killing of our women, and we're seeing this incidence of feminicide and domestic violence against our women, and it is committed by men who at times are no longer in a relationship. A woman says to a man, sorry, I no longer have any interest in you. Sorry, I need to move on with my life. Sorry, I don't want to have anything more to do with you. And these men refuse to understand and to accept that the woman is moving on. They do not understand how to accept rejection. They do not understand when it is that it is time to move on. And so they treat these women as if they are their slaves or their property, right? And what is also very disconcerting is when, for example, I hear on the news or you read in the various articles, globally, internationally, and regionally, right? And when these men, not only are they no longer in a relationship, but they too have another woman in their life, and their ex has another man in their life, but yet still they want to control. They have to show their respect to our women. And it stems from early days, not even high school. Yes.
Because Richard was pointing out that we're a highly sexualized society, and a lot of sexualization starts from a pretty young age. Mrs. Richards, you would agree?
Absolutely, Mr. Marshall. You know, you look at some of the images that even are on some of the cars. I was driving behind a taxi yesterday, and I was just taking a back shock at what I saw on some of the cars. We're just highly sexualized, the music, the images, everything. Pornography, the use of pornography. We don't talk about these things, and these things are detrimental to our psyche.
Yeah, understood. Before we wrap today, any final thoughts, starting with you, Mr. Richards, and then yourself, Mr. Williams? Any final thoughts?
Just to say that we have to be careful of living compartmentalized life. Our parliamentarians, our leaders, they must set an example in their behavior, all-round behavior, how they behave one with another and how they behave even outside of Parliament.
Very interesting, and very interesting. Mr. Williams, any final comment?
Yes, I'm just hoping that the parliamentarians will pass this legislation with all the relevant amendments to include Parliament as an institution and to include worker as a parliamentarian, and that the whole element of sexual harassment be a pivotal concept in the minds of every person, because the proposed act mentioned a co-worker harassing another co-worker, a supervisor harassing a worker. So I want everyone to become more sensitive that sexual harassment is real, it is not imagined, and that we must protect each other, and most importantly, our men to understand that our females are not their properties.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mr. Richards. You're saying something further, Mrs. Richards?
No, I'm just agreeing with Mr. Anthony Williams.
Thanks, Mr. Richards, and thanks, Mr. Williams. We'll be back after we look at the newspaper headlines and check out our answers to the social media question, which is, what are your thoughts on a sexual harassment policy for Parliament? Leave your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:31.
You know how Jamaican people do everything extra, right? So why should planning your retirement be any different? Introducing JNGI Silver Shield. 2-in-1 coverage for motor vehicle and home including contents. See? Extra! Imagine 25% JN member discount, emergency roadside assistance, accident forgiveness up to $1 million and more. JNGI Silver Shield, exclusively for members of the Caribbean community of retired persons. Visit jngi.com. JNGI, we'll help you find a way. A member of the JN Group.
We working on a brighter day, you not have to fret. You know your family secure, you not need no stress. It's like you run a 5K, set the pace in the race, celebrate, and you still never bust no sweat. We see we brother and we sister, this is how we heal them. Easy now, you and Guardian Life, it's a nation we're building. Many hearts, but we all want the same thing. Live secure and live easy.
Flow is connecting Jamaica to fiber fast internet. Over 250 communities island-wide have received upgrades since last year, with many more to come. Flow is committed to giving more Jamaicans better internet access. And with over $40 billion invested, our network grows stronger each day. Visit a Flow store today or call 1-800-804-2994 to find out if you can upgrade to the fiber fast experience on Jamaica's largest network.
Are you ready to bring home some boldness? Well, it's easier than you think. Bring the boldness of Berger to your living room, kitchen, and entire house this Labor Day and get 12% off selected paints until May 31st or while stocks last. Imagine that! 12% off your favorite colors? Create bold moments with your family this Labor Day with Berger. Berger, for lasting beauty and protection.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have, first of all, in the Daily Observer, we have a story here as it takes, it's now here with us. One of the headlines here, Dayton's cross to bear. Dayton's cross to bear. People's National Party activist Karen Cross is mounting a stout defense in the defamation suit filed against her by the party's General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell. Also, we have here in the Jamaica Observer, police blast Indicom, appeal for fairness. We now turn to the Gleaner online, and we ask that you would give us a moment for us to quickly turn to that. One of the issues sometimes is using the online version. It takes a little while to load. So here we are now, Jamaica Gleaner again. And we turn to the news in the Jamaica Gleaner momentarily as we await the technology to move just a little bit faster. And here we go. JDF soldiers claim victimization over COVID vaccine refusal. JDF soldiers claim victimization over COVID vaccine refusal. And another story here. Indicom probing fatal shooting of machete-toting man in Trelawney. Coming up next, we'll read some feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, what are your thoughts on a sexual harassment policy for Parliament? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment or your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
The Minister of Transport and Mining, the Honourable Robert Montague, will deliver his sectoral presentation in Parliament on Wednesday, May 26 at 2:30 p.m. He will speak on the progress of plans in his portfolio ministry under the theme Transport and Mining, Resilient, Strong, Recovering. You can hear the presentation this Wednesday, May 26 at 2:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man.
It's the final Wednesday inside me. And you know what the man them do on the last Wednesday? It's Integrity Wednesday inside the mailbox. Tune in this Wednesday, May 26th, with host Pastor Courtney Morrison, yours truly, and Kevin Bailey at 5:30 p.m. inside the mailbox with our integrity guest, a man who chases youths for the kingdom of God, founder of the Youth Empowering Youth Ministries, youth counselor and advisor, Minister Tyrone Augustus. Be sure to tune in at 5:30 p.m. May 26th tomorrow to hear about the importance of him as a man having undiluted integrity in ministry, business, and his relationship. In all things integrity with Minister Tyrone Augustus inside the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. This Wednesday, May 26th at 5:30 p.m. here on Love 101, the family station, the number one gospel station in the nation, Mandel.
Many of our brothers and sisters lose hope when diagnosed with HIV. Some lose their will to continue being a part of society. Others are despaired by the challenges of keeping up with their treatment. We understand. But remember, people with HIV live normal and progressive lives every day. You can too if you get back on track with your HIV treatment. Live for you, live for someone, live for something.
Get back on track, get back to life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The JCDC is searching for Jamaica's next gospel star. Need a platform to share your ministry and song? Here's your opportunity. Enter the Jamaica Gospel Star Competition. Record your performance of a cover or original song of 4 minutes or less. Visit the JCDC entry platform to register and upload the entry. Enter a cover or an original gospel song. See our website for rules and regulations. Deadline May 31. Let's lift up the praise and find our new gospel star.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We move right into the second watch, and there is just so much to look at in relation to the whole matter of treatment for COVID-19. Perhaps I'm quoting here from an article, May 16, 2021, in the Sunday Gleaner by Dr. Alfred Dawes. Quote, perhaps the most egregious crime against humanity committed by WHO is suppression of ivermectin in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19, unquote. And I will hasten to indicate that this is a quote in relation to Dr. Alfred Dawes. We're not saying that the Morning Watch is saying this. It has been reported that ivermectin is highly effective in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19. So the question some are asking, so why hasn't it been approved for such usage in Jamaica? Why hasn't it been so approved for usage in Jamaica? We have online this morning to discuss this very, as it were, controversial subject, controversial matter. Dr. Alfred Dawes himself, he is a medical doctor of the Windsor Wellness Windsor Wellness Center. Dr. Dawes, good morning, sir. How are you today, sir?
Hi, good morning, and good morning to all the listeners. I'm good.
Good. Great having you indeed. Now, I read your article that came out in relation to ivermectin. One of the things I will raise with you, sir, before I really pose the question is, when this whole matter of the novel coronavirus really hit the world, all indications that it hit the world early last year, it took a lot of people by surprise. And certainly I, as a lay person, thought, okay, so what medication will they find to treat with this? And I was hearing all sorts of things. We now have a lot of vaccines in usage, and I'm not here to talk about whether you're pro-vax or anti-vax. That's not what we're here to talk about. But what is interesting is that there seems to be so much of a disagreement, can I say that, in the medical community as to what should be used to treat it. Now, you have been saying that ivermectin or properly to be used. What is the position? Can you enlighten the listeners in terms of what is the position in relation to ivermectin? Is it being allowed to be used in Jamaica? Is it that the government is saying don't use it? Are they saying that you can use it, but you just can't seem to get it into the island, which is what I am understanding? You can enlighten us. What is the position with ivermectin, and why do you think there is so much controversy about its usage or lack thereof?
Ivermectin, for those who wouldn't know, it's an antiparasitic drug that they use against worms. They use it to treat river blindness, and it has been around for over 40 years. It has been so effective that it's pretty much described as a wonder drug and given a lot of accolades by the WHO themselves. The discoverers, they actually got the Nobel Prize for discovering the drug. And so it has been used a lot for over 40 years, and its safety has been proven. But what was noted sometime last year was that it was very active against the coronavirus in a study in Australia.
And what this was the coronavirus?
No. This was the actual virus itself in a test tube in a lab. But they found that the concentration, the dosage to kill the virus itself would have been too high for humans. Now, that is a study that people have been using over and over to say that the drug is not safe and it only works in high concentration. We have moved long and far beyond that. It has been shown in the real world that much lower doses that are safe in humans have been shown to have an effect, not just on killing the virus itself, which was what that original study showed, but it has anti-inflammatory factors and is a part of the disease process itself, where you have what is called a cytokine storm, which is uncontrolled inflammation in the body that causes a lot of the damage. So you will have people with COVID, and long after they're tested negative, meaning that their bodies have cleared the virus, they're still having respiratory problems and they're on a ventilator, because the inflammation that the coronavirus caused in the lungs has caused so much damage. It's like a hurricane passed through, and weeks later you're still seeing the effects of the hurricane. Ivermectin works by blunting that response, and at the same time, it decreases the replication and the activity of the virus within the body, so that our own immune systems can help to overcome it. That is how it works, not that it goes directly and kills the virus and you need high concentration of the drug to kill the virus. So it has been shown in multiple studies all across the world, as well as in real life experience. And I'll go a little bit into that if time permits, in India and Peru, that the drug works, and it works quite well. Now, to go back to your question, I just wanted to have that preamble so persons can understand where we're coming from. To go back to your question, what is the status of ivermectin in Jamaica? It is a position of the Ministry of Health and Wellness that they have no objection to anyone bringing in the drug as a private entity. But we just cannot get the approvals. Well, anybody who has applied has so far not gotten any approvals to bring in this drug. And the ministry has opted not to bring it in themselves for use in the public hospital.
Hold that thought, Dr. Nod, because we're up on the break. Let's hold that thought for us, please, sir. We are up on the break. We want to hear more of what you have to say. Please stay with us on the Morning Watch. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is Love 101. It's now 7:45.
Stay informed and keep up to date with all the happenings locally, regionally, and internationally. Follow My Jamaica Today on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Also check us out at JamaicaToday.com as we bring you all the information you need wherever you are, with fearless and factual reporting on politics, world news, business, entertainment, sports, and lifestyle. It's My Jamaica Today, Jamaica's first digital media house, only 3 clicks away.
With their versatility and a timeless appeal, Tiles can give color, texture, and a fabulous finishing touch to any space, and it Active Home Center, we have the best selection of tiles at affordable prices. Shop a wide selection of floor and wall tiles to add style and personality to your bathroom, kitchen, living room, and even your outdoors. Come in and let our experts show you how to make your designs come alive with the right tiles. Visit us at 84 Constant Spring Road. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
There are a million reasons to want to own a home.
I want more space for the children.
I am tired of paying rent.
My wife and I want an investment.
Go from future plans to keys in hand with an NCB mortgage. Get rates as low as 6.95%, 100% financing, and up to 40 years to repay. Plus, get the life insurance and home insurance you need all in one place. Visit myhome.jncb.com to get started. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we are looking at ivermectin as a treatment in light of the coronavirus. And our guest for this segment is Dr. Alfred Dawes, medical doctor of Windsor Wellness Center. Now, Dr. Dawes, you indicated some of the challenges in bringing in ivermectin into the island as a private person, for example. You did indicate that the Ministry of Health is not bringing in the drug, but it is not preventing anyone from bringing it in. However, you expressed the challenges in actually getting in the drug. Now, is it that other drugs are being allowed to come in for various other ailments, whatever those ailments are, whatever those illnesses are, but for some reason ivermectin can't be brought in or is not being allowed to be brought in? Can you clarify?
My biggest concern is that remdesivir, a drug that was imported in the island, it's the preliminary studies that showed we have 4% benefits to it, and 4%. It is 4% benefit, and it was brought into the island because what's that?
In terms of treating the coronavirus, only 4%?
In terms of 4% chance of decreasing your chance of dying.
All right.
And it was brought in and is still being used in government hospitals. Yes, ivermectin that has been shown in trials by over 80 to 85% to decrease the chance of dying is not being imported. The WHO has even come out from their own studies and said that remdesivir is not as effective. No, it was 4%. And the WHO come and said that 4% is high. And this drug is still being used in Jamaica. So it's a drug that has over 80% chance of reducing a chance of dying is not being allowed in the country.
Dr. Dawes,
because of regulation.
So Dr. Dawes, you just said something highly earth-moving. So what is the medical fraternity? Assuming that the figures you just quoted, you can verify them. And I have no reason to doubt that you can. I have no reason to doubt that you can verify those figures.
The data is out there. And that's why I gave a range. Because there are some studies that show that ivermectin decreases your chance of dying by over 90%. But I was conservative when I said over 80%. The data is out there. Multiple studies. Right now there are, I think, as we speak, about 55 studies, high-quality studies, that have shown a proven benefit to ivermectin in COVID. Better if you use it earlier, but it still has significant improvement in person in ICU early in the course of the disease. Instead of just sending on people and saying, take paracetamol and take a temperature and call us back if you feel sick. We, the doctors, should be able to say, start a course of ivermectin, so we would decrease the chances of someone who has COVID developing a severe form of disease and getting admitted to hospital. That is how we're going to get out of this pandemic. The fact is, you mentioned vaccines. I'm very pro-vaccine. I have already taken my first dose.
You are on record. You're on record with that, which is why I said this is not about whether you are pro or anti-vax. But back to ivermectin. If doctors like yourself know this fact or these facts about ivermectin based on the relevant studies, which you have said are highly, credible, why isn't there more uproar in the medical community about this? I'm not saying you're the only doctor who's speaking up, but one gets the impression, I think, that you may be a lone voice in the wilderness. What could be a
No, I wouldn't say a lone voice, because a group of doctors recently signed a letter, an open letter, to those in charge of the Ministry of Health. And it's a very reputable group of doctors.
What's happening? We seem to be seeing just you alone. You are the brave one. What's happening?
No. Dr. Mikey Abrams, Garth Radtree, Brendan Bain, and of course, Dr. Charlie Rice, who had introduced me to ivermectin. They have been very vocal as well. The problem is that the MAJ had issued a release earlier this year as well, calling for the inclusion of ivermectin in the protocols to treat COVID. So the voices are there, but it is really the media to ask the questions now. Why nobody is listening?
Well, that's why you're on the Morning Watch, because we deal with topical and controversial issues. So what recommendations, if any, we're almost running out of time already, never enough time on the Morning Watch. What recommendations, if any, would you like to say on air today on the Morning Watch to the powers that be, to say, what message you want to leave with the public and with the powers that be, sir?
Allow the importation of ivermectin so that persons can
disallowed it. They have not said that they are disallowed it. That's why I'm asking.
Well, there's a law and there's a law. I can say I allow you to do something, but then I tie you up with so much red tape that you are immobile.
Tell us a little bit about that red tape. I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about the red tape that you say is being used to.
None of the companies that have applied for the importation of ivermectin have been granted permits. Yet at the same time, as I mentioned,
have they got no reason to your knowledge why it hasn't been?
Well, I'm not privy to each and every application that has been turned down, but in some instances they have asked for bioequivalent.
Turned down by which entity?
The Standards and Regulations Unit at Ministry of Health. They're the ones that govern importation. But
so
it's
we
just
will attend on a future program, maybe to have one of them come to explain. So you are saying that the Ministry of Health, in terms of that relevant unit, has denied those applications. Have you heard of any follow-up, like maybe if they fulfill certain criteria, they'll be allowed to bring it in at a future date? Have you heard that?
Oh, yes, but it is to fulfill the criteria.
Which is?
Well, one of them is the bioequivalence data, which a lot of companies wouldn't be able to get in a timely manner. And as it will happen. So to show that one pill equals another pill at the same dose. So you don't have more cornstarch in one and less of the active ingredient. But that is going to take time to come in. So it's going to happen, but it is going to take 6 months. The first applications I heard went in from last year. So it is going to take a long time. But with the stroke of a pen, someone can have an emergency use authorization or its equivalent in Jamaica to import ivermectin. Just as how, by the stroke of a pen, without any issues, remdesivir was imported.
I see where you're going. So
it is really just the will to say, all right, let us make it happen, and it can happen.
I see. So you think there's a little bit of discrimination against ivermectin?
I think that we are guided by WHO a little bit too much, and we ought to exert our independence, as some other countries have done, and they have had amazing results. If you, as I mentioned, the case studies, if you look at Peru, when Peru had their surge, they rolled out ivermectin. There was a plunge in the number of deaths. A new president came in and he banned ivermectin, and the deaths started to rise. Now, you can say there are confounding factors, and it could be many different reasons why you had that dip and then rise. But then if you look at the states in Peru that had very organized rollouts of ivermectin and large numbers of patients got ivermectin early out, you will realize that the dip was more dramatic in those cases, in those states, than in states where they had an inefficient process and there was less ivermectin rolled out. So you see more ivermectin available, a faster dip in deaths, less ivermectin available, a slower dip in deaths. And this is in the same country, same population in different areas. You look at India, India is trending down. The states that are trending down right now are the ones that are using ivermectin. When you look at a country such as, when you look at a state such as Tamil Nadu, where they're not using ivermectin, their rates of COVID-19 are going up. Whereas Maharashtra, that had the biggest outbreak, they are trending down right now and are below Tamil Nadu, along with other states that are rolling out ivermectin. Now, is it a case where right across the world you have so many coincidences taking place to show that this drug works? Or is it the, call it what it is? You're hearing hoofs and you're thinking horses. This thing actually works. The problem we're having is that it's not that the data that is being examined is saying, yes, it works in some studies. No, it doesn't work in other studies. What is being said is that all of these studies are telling us that ivermectin works. But that one didn't have enough people. That one used ivermectin with something else. That one didn't record everything properly. And they find a different excuse why each study is imperfect. It is like if somebody is telling you 10 times, warning you about something, you said, I cannot trust what this man says because he's a deportee. I can't trust this man because he's a liar. I can't trust this man because I'm not sure if he doesn't like me. But you don't think to say that maybe if all 10 people are telling me the same story, maybe the off chance is that they're telling the truth. What is needed is a high quality study, but that is going to take a significant amount of money. There is no financial incentive for any company to sponsor such a trial because they can make no money off ivermectin. The drug is dirt cheap and anybody can make it anywhere. It is not as if you have a patent on it and you can exclusively make it the way that the vaccines are being exclusively made, and they refuse to suspend the patent so other countries can make the vaccine. This is a drug that is cheap and it is widely available and nobody stands to gain off it. So why sponsor a study where you're just throwing money away for a cheap drug that's going to affect the sales of other drugs? So that is where big science and big pharma come in to muddy the waters. And that is a big problem that I have. You can't get that ideal study.
You're literally out of time. We're totally out of time. You said some very earth-shattering things this morning on the Morning Watch. And again, these are the views of Dr. Alfred Dawes. We're not saying that these are necessarily the views of the Morning Watch. I have to say that, Dr. Dawes, no disrespect to you in any way, shape, or form. In fact, we're happy that you came on the program this morning to enlighten us and to share your thoughts with us. Thank you for your time and thank you for your expertise, which has helped to inform us this morning. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you to our listeners for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for the discussion of topical and controversial issues. And to get copies of the program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gill, and to our guest. I am still Tim Marshall, handing it back to 7 in the morning with Chef Only Blair.
Need financial breathing space? Switch to a Sagicor